This is Boomer Life on CL 650.
George Gordon back with you with Dr. Ted Venema, registered audiologist, and we're talking about the services and the discoveries and the knowledge that comes from NexGen Hearing and Mainland Hearing, and their websites you can get more information from at nextgenhearing.com and mainlandhearing.com. We're going to talk a little bit later about the importance of getting that hearing test and how you can get it for free and how you can try a remedy without having to commit to the purchase right away. First of all, let's get back, Dr. Ted, and talk about the parts of the ear. We see the thing on the outside, which can be big or stick out or whatever.
Yeah.
But there are, it's the stuff you can't see that's important.
That's right. The outer ear is the biggest and the most useless part. Good to hang earrings on or put your glasses around, but it has a unique shape, and your ear canal is about 1 inch long, down to your eardrum. Your eardrum is about as big as your pinky when you're looking dead on it, like as big as the tip of your finger. It's a small thing, about 1 centimeter across. Now, the outer ear and that ear canal have a purpose. They gather sound and they resonate like a wine glass. And guess what sounds they resonate with? Treble. So they are naturally meant to amplify high pitches of speech. So the ear is made for the voice. They're married. Now, behind that eardrum are the 3 smallest bones of the body: the hammer, the anvil, and the stirrup. And they'll all fit on a nickel or on a dime, no problem. They're the smallest bones of your body. They now take the sound, and now it's converted into mechanical piston-like energy. So the ear gathers sound, and then the middle ear transfers that sound, kind of wiggles, those little bones wiggle. And the ear, now the cochlea are the inner, so that's called the middle ear, that little chamber. And that's what can get earaches and infections. It can come up from your throat and get into those 3 little bones area, and that's where kids get earaches. When you get older, your face gets longer, and the tubes from your throat to your middle ears are more vertical, so you got gravity working in your favor. But kids get infections more often because their faces are shorter and flatter. Anyway, that's the outer and the middle ear, and the inner ear is the cochlea, or the snail-shaped tiny thing about as big as your pinky fingernail, and that's got all those hair cells in it. And that cochlea is filled with fluid as well. And when the sound vibration from the little bones wiggles the fluid inside that cochlea, you hear. It's the sound, the waves of fluid inside that cochlea wiggle the hairs on these tiny, minuscule. Guess how many hair cells each cochlea has? 15,000.
Wow.
And they're arranged like keys on a piano. High frequencies, and then mid frequencies, and then low frequencies. So you're just like keys on a piano. Specific pitches are represented along specific places inside that snail-shaped coil. So at any rate, the treble is all located at the entry, whereas the bass tones are all represented at the tippy top of that inner ear. And so the entryway, when you walk through a doorway, the carpet is going to get dirtiest right by the doorway. And that's why treble tends to go down first, because all sounds have to go through those treble hair cells to get to anywhere else. So treble tends to get lost first in hearing due to age and due to noise, and leading people with a treble hearing loss. And when you've got that, it's permanent. That kind of hearing loss is called sensory neural. Sensory neural, as opposed to a hearing loss that a kid gets with an earache. When a child gets an earache and an ear infection, now you've got pus between the eardrum in that middle ear space all around the bones and the cochlea. So you've got pus between the eardrum and that inner ear. So the middle ear is filled with white gunk. And that presents a physical blockage of sound. That's like putting an earplug in your ear. So when you put an earplug in your ear, you're giving yourself that kind of hearing loss, the same kind of hearing loss that a child gets with an ear infection, but you're doing it on purpose because you want to protect your ears against damage with a lawnmower. A child will have a blockage of pus, blocking sound getting through to where it's got to go. And that can be fixed. That's called a conductive hearing loss. It's blocking the conduction of sound. That's remediable by medicine. Okay, whereas the inner ear hearing loss, sensory neural, that the elderly person has, presbycusis, that's not curable by medicine. That's permanent. It can only go one direction. It can get worse or it can stay the same. And that's why early intervention is so important, rather than waiting until it gets so bad and then you can hardly get used to hearing aids. I say get hearing aids when you're starting to notice it. You're wading in the pool. It's much of easier a transition.
This is something else that I think we start to experience at a young age. We go swimming. We get water backed up in the ears. Or we get a wax buildup in the ear. These are
conductive hearing losses.
Right.
They're fixable. They're creating a physical mechanical blockage.
Right.
And that can be treated. Let's
talk about the hearing test and what's involved in there, because I think some people might be afraid if it's got a doctor in front of it or some letters after the name. That means that they're going to do stuff to me. Let's try to take some of the mystery out of going for the hearing test.
Here's what they do. Here's what we do. We're very polite. We say hello. We offer you a cup of coffee or a cup of tea. Talk to you about your hearing problems. It's called taking a case history. Then we test your hearing sensitivity under headphones. We'll test the right ear and then the left ear, or whichever, but we'll test the ears separately, and we'll give you a tone, and we'll ask you to raise a finger or to push a button every time you're able to hear that tone. We make the tone softer and softer until you can no longer hear it. We mark down what that was. Then we go to a new pitch, a higher pitch, and we do the same procedure. We make it softer and softer until we find the level that you can barely hear it. So we're looking for your hearing sensitivity for a range of frequencies or pitches, from low C on a piano, 125 cycles, to middle C, 250, to high C, 500, and then for 4 more octaves after that. So you can tell that music is really on the low pitch bass end of the spectrum. And you can see that or hear that because what's going to be different? Ah, la da 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 versus s, sh, k. Okay, when you're talking church, speech, those are way out of the range of music. That's treble.
Okay.
So we test you at 7 different octave frequencies, and we control the intensity or the loudness in decibels, and we find the softest decibels it takes for you to hear each of the different pitches. And we do that separately, of course, for each ear, just like an optometrist will test each eye separately. And that way we come up with a prescription for hearing amplification. And that's the next step.
Okay.
Go ahead. Ask me more if you.
All right. So the hearing evaluation consultation is important. You've gone through these different stages.
Yep.
And how do you explain that to people? I mean, people are not stupid, but as soon as you use language that they've never heard before, so I'm deaf. You know what? I'm never going to hear again.
No. I talk in plain English, and most practitioners do. Yeah, if you want to make sense to the public and you want to stay in business, you better make sense. So you talk in English, and or whichever language is necessary. But I explain it in clear terms. You've got hearing. Your hearing is better for the bass than it is for the treble, or it's whatever it is. And we also test you regarding speech. We also do speech, and we talk into each ear separately, and we'll say words. Say the word tree. Say the word cow. Say the word, but we make it softer and softer and softer. Okay? And then when we find your comfortable loudness level, what's most comfortable in the right ear as I'm talking to you? Yakety, yakety, yak. If I was a radio, tell me where you'd set me. Pretend, and then when I'm at a correct volume for you that feels comfortable, now I'm going to say words to you that won't become softer, but I'm going to cover my face so you can't see them. Say the word church. Say the word cow. Say the word love, or say the word death. Did you see deaf or death?
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you're testing the clarity of one's hearing. Okay. And so it's a whole procedure. We do the tone tests, like I was describing earlier, and we mark your scores down like tic-tac-toe. The O's represent the right ear, and the X's represent your left ear. And pitch goes across the top from all the different bass to treble, and then the decibels run down the side, and that's called an audiogram. So your hearing test is displayed on what's called an audiogram.
Paint that picture for me,
Sure.
if you would.
The pitches run from left to right across the page. So from low C to middle C to high C, and then octaves going higher. That runs across from left to right. And then decibels run from 0 down to 120, which is screaming loud. So we test how many decibels is required for the right ear to hear all the different pitches. We mark down those scores as O's across the audiogram. And then we do the same for the left ear, and we mark down the scores for the left ear as X's. So, like I say, we play tic-tac-toe. It almost looks like that, But so you've got X's and O's, and in someone with presbycusis, you'll see it run down like a hill. You'll see excellent hearing in the bass, and you'll see the slope. You'll see it go down. And it's very common. That's like 90% of people with hearing loss have that. But everybody's got it at different degrees, slightly, and that's why hearing aids take a prescription. That's why you have to tune the hearing aids. And hearing aids today are digital. By the way, they're all programmed on a computer with software. And it might be hardwire connected, or it might even be via Bluetooth. And you are programming the hearing aids according to the prescription, which is based on the client's audiogram.
Digital. What a wonderful world it has created in so many ways. Which ear tends to lose more hearing?
Neither. There is no, doesn't. Usually when people get hearing loss due to age, presbycusis, both ears go the same way. One ear doesn't age faster than the other ear, Now, vision is a little different like that. Eyes tend to have very markedly different prescriptions. Eyes are a little bit different, so one lens of the glasses will be different from the other.
Right.
With hearing aids, might be slight difference in tuning for both ears. But then again, you do get people who've had noise-induced hearing loss more in one ear. They were a truck driver, or they have it more in the left ear than the right, or target shooters, rifle target shooters will have more hearing depending on whether they're right-handed or left-handed, or a dentist or whatever.
Or disc jockeys.
So you do get different hearing loss in both ears at times, but hearing aids then would be programmed differently for both ears.
All right. Now, coming up next, we're going to get into more specifics about hearing loss and the impact on the individual. And we alluded to it earlier, and that was talking about the connection between hearing loss and dementia, which I found a little bit startling, but as you and I were beginning to talk before the show, it started to make an awful lot of sense.
Yeah.
We're also going to tell you about how at NexGen Hearing and Mainland Hearing, you can get a pre-hearing test, and you can get to try out a hearing aid system designed for you for 3 weeks for free. That's coming up next on Boomer Life on CIL 650.
Canada's only weekly radio show dedicated to the baby boomer lifestyle. This is Boomer Life on CIL 650.